Hi there, my name is Andrea, and this is High Literature, a program where I introduce books and stories, and in the near future, comic books and graphic novels as well to you, the viewer. In the last couple of videos, I was reading from an autobiographical short story called A Christmas Memory by Truman Capote. And it was about a time in his life when he was a little boy growing up in Alabama, which is actually where I was born, Ozark, Alabama. I have no memory of it. I was only there for the first couple of years of my life. Um, and I love this short story so much for quite a few reasons. I really love the relationship that's described between Truman and his cousin. In the story, Truman is like 8 or so, and his cousin is in her 60s. And that was something I felt connected to my whole life for whatever reason. I don't know why. I've always just spent more time with and have been more drawn towards people that were a lot older than me, for better or worse. And another thing that I really love about this story is the way it describes nature scenes, and especially the description of the little dog, Queenie. Queenie cracks me up. So much personality. I love anything that demonstrates an awareness of how much personality animals have. I think it's a shame that a lot of people see animals as just dumb, empty beings that don't have anything going on inside, which is not the case, and it's really sad. And this story really just hones in on how much character an animal can have, and Queenie kind of steals the show in this book. Or I'm sorry, this story. Another thing that I really like about this story is how it describes the season. It's taking place during Christmas, and at the beginning, the cousin is talking about how she just gets this feeling every year where it signals her to start making fruitcakes for all of their friends. And she's saying here how I knew it before I got out of bed. The courthouse bell sounded so cold and clear, and there were no birds singing. They've all gone to warmer country. And it made me something that I've always wondered about ever since I was a small child. Every year, this thing happens where the season will change, and it's the same every time. It's when it goes from summer to fall. And I don't know what it is, but there will be something in the air, a smell, a feeling, I don't know, a combination of things. And it's so overwhelming, but in a really peaceful way that's also exciting. It's hard to explain. And I always wondered if it was just me, if I was the only person who felt this, and if other people felt it, if it was during the same time of the year, if it was different for different people in different seasons. Like in this particular story, she feels it in the winter. And it's not even like a changing of the season, but it's something that happens that just flips this switch in her that lets her know, okay, it's that time to make my annual batch of fruitcakes. And I just get a kick out of that. And another thing that I really love in this story, this whole thing is just talking about, she gets this feeling, oh, it's time to make fruitcakes. And then they go, boop, there we go, and collect all the ingredients and go through the whole process of making them. And it takes up a lot of the story. And it isn't until much later that it's addressed who these fruitcakes are for. And that part just, it just breaks my heart, but in like a really, I don't want to say happy way. It's not a sad way. I don't know. It just gives me this feeling that it just overwhelms me. And it talks about how these friends that they make these cakes for, a lot of the people they don't even know. They've never even met before. Or it's people that they've met only once. And there's this part where he asks the question, is it because my friend is shy with everyone except strangers that these strangers and merest acquaintances seem to us our truest friends? I think yes. And that part just kills me. And I told myself I wasn't going to cry in this video. I cry a lot. I'm sorry. I just get so emotional. But it just, I still don't really know what it is about that gets me so worked up. I've read this story so many times, and man, I get to that part and it knocks me down. And I still haven't figured out why. And I think about it a lot. I just know that I love it and it really resonates in me. And I think especially nowadays with the internet and how, people have podcasts and video channels and all these different things where you're connecting with strangers and people you've never met before, people that you may never meet, people that you might end up meeting. A friend of mine, she during the pandemic got really into Animal Crossing. Hi, Brandy. And she became friends with different people that she would play Animal Crossing with. And when everything started to ease up a little bit and people were allowed to travel again, she went and traveled to New York and met these people that she met playing this game online that prior to that she never even knew existed. And I think that's really cool and reminds me a lot of this, how random things will happen that will make it so that you'll cross paths with people in your life that you may otherwise never cross paths with and may never see again. But something about the experience sticks with you and carries throughout your entire life. And I just love the descriptions of the different people that they make friends with, like the little knife grinder and the penny postcards that they'll get, and they keep the thank yous that they get on White House stationery because they send a fruitcake to President Roosevelt. And they'll get stuff from different countries, from like different missionaries that they became friends with that come through town that they just see that one time and then never see again. And I just really, it just kills me. And about the nature part, it's funny, like there's so much of the story that's focused on them making the fruitcakes, and then they finally make them, and left over is like a little bit of whiskey that they decide to split, and they split it between the two of them and Queenie the dog. And it's so funny how they describe Queenie. Queenie rolls on her back, her paws plow the air, something like a grin stretches her black lips, and you can just see this little dog just having a time from drinking that little bit of whiskey. And I love, even though it's sad, how it's like kind of this like climactic moment where they get to enjoy this whiskey. They're in awe of the prospect of drinking it, and they're singing and dancing and having a great time. And then in comes these relatives, other people that they live with in this house, and they just rain shame down on them and just make them feel terrible. Queenie sneaks under the stove, and it's really sad and lots of tears. And that's how the fruitcake part of the story ends. And then it rolls into he's trying to cheer up his cousin, and he's like, don't cry, don't cry. You're not gonna, if you stay up all night crying, you're not gonna have any energy to go and get a Christmas tree tomorrow. And then the story changes to where they go out to find a Christmas tree. And I love how it's described when they're making their way there, and it's like this really arduous journey that I would not want to do. Very cold, and no thank you. Not a fan of the cold. But Queenie shakes herself and trembles. My friend shivers too, not with cold but enthusiasm. And one of her hat's ragged roses sheds a petal as she lifts her head and inhales the pine-heavy air. "We're almost there. Can you smell it, buddy?" she says, as though we're approaching an ocean. And indeed, it is a kind of ocean. And I just love the image that creates in my mind. I just see an ocean of pine trees, and I can smell it, and it's just so good. And I just love how stories can do that, just these simple little stringing together of words, and it just transports you to a completely different place and just gives you all these feelings that just manifest out of nothing, just from reading these words. And I just love it. I love the experience. And so they find a tree, and they start, bringing it back home. And there's this kind of moment of like triumph that I feel a lot of people who are very passive and quiet don't get to often feel, where they get approached by somebody that like wants the tree. And ordinarily my friend is afraid of saying no, but on this occasion she promptly shakes her head. "We wouldn't take $1. And then she gets kind of harassed some more, and $1.50, that's my last offer. You can get another one. And in answer, my friend gently reflects, "I doubt it. There's never two of anything." And I just, it's such a triumphant moment. And then it follows with home. Queenie slumps by the fire and sleeps till tomorrow, snoring loud as a human. And it's so simple. There's nothing to it, but golly, just reading those words and just imagining that dog just having that long day of finding and cutting down and bringing home the tree, and then just like, just exhausted, completely spent. And yeah, I love this story. It's so beautiful. It's so simple. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to cut this short here. There's more I want to say, but I'm about to run out of video time. And yeah, I really need to get a new phone. So before this cuts abruptly short, just thank you so much for watching. And I promise I'll get a new phone soon, or at least delete a bunch more off the current phone so I can have more room. And so yeah, I guess the next video will be more about this. Thank you. Bye.